Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Coach Red, where we bring all the news, sobers, takes, and opinions about your favorite teams from the Pacific Northwest, from the good to the bad to the Mariners.
The sweet, sweet Mariners, baby. They're almost here.
Almost here. Sorry for the flub and the facial expressions on the intro there. That is the first time I've messed that up in a long, long time.
Actually, I think you messed it up like a week or two ago when we
Yeah,
took a little break. So,
but then we restarted that one. Guess what? No take backs in this one because the Mariners are coming back. Regular
yeah.
season starts on Thursday. So, of course, we're going to talk about them on Wednesday. It's
Sorry,
another,
it's just been so Seahawks heavy news lately that we haven't gotten Mariners episodes out.
we've got some, but I'm not talking about spring training.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, the real stuff starts. But what we'll keep doing is mock drafts. We'll probably hit this one. We'll have another one,
I think we'll have a.
two more before the actual NFL draft, and we'll probably have an episode where we go a Seahawks centric one where we'll go all rounds for the Seahawks.
I think
That'll be
that'll be
fun.
a really good one. I think it'll be a good one.
So, but we're back into mock draft territory today. Mix some things up based off a lot of mock drafts that I've been seeing, kind of where some people are falling and rising. And to make some of those falls happen, I kind of bump some people up. Do I think this is the most accurate one? No, but I think it is a fun one. It's a little breaks up the monotony of Monday mock draft. And if you're ready to dive in before, get to know us, like me, your boy Coach Red. You can find me on X at the Real Coach Red, on Instagram at the Real underscore Coach Red, TikTok at the Real Coach Red. Also find the show over on YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications, leave a comment or two. Since we're trying to break up the monotony, we're trying to hit you hard and fast and don't have a bunch of time. So we're just gonna say it's Kane.
Yep, I'm Kate. You can find me over on Twitter, Kane2406. TikTok, and Twitch because we're posting on TikTok again and somewhat streaming again. So give those a follow at Kane0624. Also follow the show's socials over on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. False. Do it, frickin' do it.
Bum, ba, ba, bum, ba, ba, bum, bum, bum. With the first pick in this 2025 NFL mock draft, the Tennessee Titans select
Cam Ward, quarterback out of Miami.
Cam Ward's not getting past two in this one. I keep teetering back and forth on whether I think that they're going to roll with Will Levis or whether they're going to try and do other things. In this one, I
I think
say
this
they're going
has
to
to
move
save
on
Brian.
from
I
Will
think,
Levis.
yeah, I think this is the pick that kind of saves Brian Callahan's career there, right?
You want
He
to
kind
partner
of
yourself with your own quarterback. If you're going to go
right,
down, you want to do it with your guy.
exactly. And I think this is the smartest pick, and throughout the rest of
Smartest
the,
pick so far.
it just has to be right because Will Levis has not proven that he can do it in the NFL. Way more gunslinger in him than there should be. Cam Ward gives you somebody who I think is very teachable for Brian Callahan with the Tennessee offense.
All right, pick number two, the Cleveland Browns select
Abdul Carter, edge out of Penn State.
saw some reports over the weekend that they're prepared to select Abdul Carter unless Cam Ward is available. Another quarterback doesn't tickle their fancy. If you want to put a Robin to Miles Garrett's Batman, this it would be a fearsome twosome coming
Oh,
and getting the quarterback, which should give Kenny Pickett.
that's right. Kenny Pickett, baby.
Today, I actually had some time to dive into the rosters a little bit more. Should be getting a little more nuggets like that as we go along. But yeah, Kenny Pickett and company can maybe do some stuff
Yeah,
offensively.
yeah.
All right, pick number three, the New York Football Giants select.
Shedeur Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado.
They pick up James Winston. That kind of leads me as a bridge guy. Yes, he can start for you, especially early on to get
Mm-hmm.
Shador up to speed. I think that move signals that they're looking at a quarterback here at three or potentially at the very beginning of the second round. But once you get past the top three, and in this one we have three quarterbacks going, I don't think there's a guy you can take at the top of the second that
Yep.
can really be that guy. And Jameis is fun. He's clickbait. He's awesome when he is on the mic, but his play is so up and down that it is going to infuriate people. They're going to be calling for the backup. And I've had enough Tommy DeVito sandwiches from Jersey Mike's.
Yeah.
That's his dad,
Oh.
Danny DeVito.
That's
Pick
funny.
number four, the New England Patriots select.
Armand Membu, tackle out of Missouri.
I think that the offensive line is where they need to go. I think that you look at the playmakers they have. Are you overly impressed by them? No, but I think that Jalen Bolt takes a step forward because he wasn't first fiddle at Washington. He's now going to be asked to take that role. Yes, you got Double H's Hunter Henry there. I think that giving Drake May being the full time starter now, giving him more time is going to help in his progression. So go ahead and give me a guy that can help with that and the fast rising tackle in this draft.
I like it. I like it. You got to protect May out back there. I just think that you give him a couple more seconds in a pocket, and some good things happen up there in New England.
Pick number five, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
They select Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan.
I think they need to do everything they can to help solidify that
Yeah,
defense.
their defense has to get better because they have so much invested in it right now.
And you have enough talent offensively when you look at the rest of the teams in this
Mm,
division. The Texans kind of had a down year after having a breakout year the year prior. They ship out Larry Tunsil. So, can you get more pressure on them? Sure. When you also look at the other teams in this division, the Colts are going to be up and down as
their
well.
offensive line is also gutted with two of their players signing with the Vikings.
And the Tennessee Titans are still searching for an identity. So,
Mm,
like we say with some of these teams, and we'll say later on, defense wins championships, defense wins divisions. Go ahead and stack this defense up. You've got enough firepower offensively to be competitive when healthy.
Great.
Pick number six, the Las Vegas Raiders.
Ashton Genty, halfback out of Boise State.
I know there's been some smoke about them getting a wide receiver and stuff like that, but what I will say, and really thought about this today, Pete Carroll, when he had player control with Seattle, emphasized the running back position greatly. They drafted Rashad Penny in the second round. They gave up a third round pick. Oh, yeah, Rashad was the first round. They gave up a third round pick to go get Marshawn Lynch. They drafted multiple players in the second round, Zach Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker, to go ahead and get that. CJ Procise was a third round pick. So he's used to putting big capital in the running back because that is an emphasis of what he wants to see offensively. The ability at the top of the first to go get the top running back in this draft, and probably one of the best workhorses that have come out of college in the last 5+ years, right?
Yeah,
You've got him. Granted, Bijan gives you a different dynamic, and you also had Roshan Johnson there, so you had some
depth.
separation there. But
Yeah.
I think that Genty gives you. He's not the best in pass catching, but with his ability to take small run and make it a big one, highlight playability, he's going to be able to sit there, pass protect on third down if needed. Not going to get a ton of catches, but is the type of guy that Pete Carroll has had
She's
wet dreams about his whole life.
exactly. It's little Marshawn practically. Like
His favorite running back.
exactly. And Marshawn's in the building most of the time. So yeah, I mean who better to kind of like help give a little tidbit to the Pete Carroll and then possibly Marshawn Lynch, huh?
Love to see it. All right, pick number seven, the New York Jets.
Travis Hunter, cornerback out of Colorado
Or
or
wide
wide
receiver.
receiver. Who knows?
I think I thought this was going to be a fun fit either way because you lose DJ Reed in the offseason, you lose Devontae Adams. Your number two wide receiver right now is Alan Lazard.
Yeah,
Don't love
yeah,
that.
not in
So
the
with
slightest.
this, I think you can actually. This is one of the teams where it makes sense where he can get reps on both sides of the ball.
And if you make him a wide receiver, it's just another weapon for Justin Fields to throw to.
Yeah, I thought about potentially quarterback at the spot, but I think that they're going to be pretty high on Justin Fields. And
Mhm.
former Pittsburgh teammates had said they think that Fields is going to break out this year for the Jets.
And I hope he does because this has been speculation after speculation on his career, and I think getting him a player like Travis Hunter to pair with Garrett Wilson, I think would make that offense legit.
Too legit to quit. So we're going to quit talking about them and go to pick number 8, the Carolina Panthers.
They are going to select Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan.
I think Will Johnson, Jade Barron are kind of toying for that first overall spot. Did they give huge money to JC Horn? Yes, they did. Has JC Horn necessarily proven being worth that type of money? Not necessarily, but I think that going and get another guy to play opposite of him is big. I think this is a team that can have that mentality of playing good coverage will help your pressure, right? When
Yep.
you have JC Horn, when you have another top flight guy like Will Johnson, they can both play on the perimeter and help build that pressure. And this is another division that we said defense can help you win that ship. And
Yep.
by ship, I mean division championship.
Yeah.
All right. Pick number 9, the New Orleans Saints.
They select Jade Barron, cornerback out of Texas.
Told you they were right there. This is another guy that's been high on the board for the cornerback position. They lost Marshawn Lattimore. They lost Paulson Adebo. Like, this is a team that needs cornerback help. And they're a team that is kind of stuck with cap and aging contracts, right? You still have Cameron Jordan on this team getting a big salary later on in his career. So I want to go put some more younger pieces defensively on this team because the offense and Kellen Moore, I think that he's going to be able to ignite that a little bit more. But go ahead and give me some more guys on defense to help bolster that to help them win the division. Pick number 10, the Chicago Bears.
They select Mike Green, edge out of Marshall.
This is a team that I looked at for running back, but I think that DeAndre Swift gives you a similar game to Amarion Hampton. I do think that this is kind of Genty's floor if he's still available here. He's coming off the board. I also like them with not having Keenan Allen under contract right now. He's still out there available in free agency, but they did sign Zacchaeus, who I think did great things last year for the Commanders. I thought he was underappreciated with the Falcons. I think that he is a great guy to fill those reps that you were getting for Keenan Allen. And when you throw DJ Moore and Roma Dunze going into year 2 with an offensive minded head coach, go and give me another guy to go on this defense to go get after the quarterback because defenses let them down in recent years. It's also been offensive line, but they address that in free agency.
Yeah. Ben Johnson's going to make this team right.
Pick number 11, San Francisco 49ers.
They are selecting Will Campbell, tackle out of LSU.
I think this gives them a good bridge to eventually play left tackle for them when Trent Williams retires. I do think he can slot in at guard. They lost Aaron Banks at the guard position in free agency. Guard position is relatively weak in depth chart. And you go ahead and get a guy who I think profiles as a starting tackle, but would not hurt from starting his NFL career on the interior.
Yep.
Pick number 12, the Dallas Cowboys.
Tyler Booker, guard out of Alabama.
I looked very heavy at wide receiver here, but when you think about the last 10 years, you've had extremely good offensive line play as your cornerstone for the Cowboys. Yes, is Brian Schottenheimer and Jerry Jones going to want that shiny toy? Yes, but if they get back to what they did, where they were a top tier regular season team for a long time, it's because they had a stout offensive line and their interior of offensive line was great. I think the pedigree coming from Alabama plays, his athletic testing isn't great, but his game at Alabama was never an athletic type game. He's a technician in what he does, and I think that will play very well for Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. Pick number 13, the Miami Dolphins.
They're selecting Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle out of Michigan.
It's another team that I thought a guard could fit, but I didn't find a good fit there. They've got pretty good depth at a lot of different positions throughout this team. I made a mistake, I think, in the last mock draft. I thought Christian Wilkins was still here. He's actually with the Raiders. So go ahead and get me a guy on the interior, not going to be that pass rush guy. I think that Kenneth Grant is a very high level guy and deserves to go in the top half of the first round, which is insane to think that you're going to have two Michigan interior defensive linemen go this high. But I think that Kenneth Grant makes a ton of sense for this team.
Yeah.
All right, pick number 14, the Indianapolis Colts.
They're selecting Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State.
I think with Tyler Warren, we've talked about it. You want to find a good, reliable tight end, and Tyler Warren is probably the best one out of the bunch. I think that with the comments that were said, granted, I'm not, you've got Daniel Jones and you have Anthony Richardson. Both guys have had consistency struggles, but one thing that Daniel Jones has done is highlighted his tight end group, right? You had Evan Ingram, you had Daniel Bellinger for a stretch there, and you had Darren Waller as well when healthy. He likes to throw to the tight ends, and I think that he can impart that if he's not the starting quarterback on to Anthony Richardson. And I don't think they have a true playmaker in this. This Tyler Warren can be an inline blocker, and he could be a big time yak guy.
Yep.
Preferably, he's catching a lot of passes for this team, and they're running and gunning. But I think this is a good fit for this team.
I agree, and it's a serious need for this team. They have not had excellent tight end play in the last. The last like really big name you heard play for him was Jack Doyle, right?
I wouldn't say Jack Doyle's a big name.
I mean, for fantasy reasons. I mean, he had a couple good years, or Eric Ebron.
Eric Ebron's the closest. And I think that he actually underperformed on his time with the Colts and flourished elsewhere.
Yeah, sure. But all right, next team.
All right, number 15, the Atlanta Falcons.
They're gonna select James Pierce Jr., edge out of Tennessee.
James Pierce Jr. was seemingly set to be the first edge player taken before the season started. Testing is so great. This guy is physical, but the production never was at the highest level. But this is a team that let Grady Jarrett go, who was your top producing edge player. You've got Matthew Judon, who they signed last year, who's still a free agent. I don't love the edge game here. They don't have that guy that really gets your engine revving as a guy that you could sit there and rest your hat on. I think this is another team where they feel like they have enough offensively. Go ahead and create turnovers, sacks, negative plays. And I think James Pierce has the upside to do that.
I agree.
Pick number 16, the Arizona Cardinals select
Ray Zabel, tackle out of North Dakota State.
I think he's going to profile more as a guard. And the reason I picked him here is because I could not see them using premium draft capital in back-to-back years after selecting Marvin Harrison at 4 last year. I cannot see them spending that high a draft capital on that. Typically, you can get good play out of wide receivers in the second, even into the third round. One of their biggest holes is their interior offensive line. One of their starters is Evan Brown, who was a mediocre starter for the Seahawks and had a okay season for the Cardinals. I think that protecting Kyler Murray, making sure you can open up holes for James Conner really highlights what Kyler Murray can then do with Marvin Harrison, with McBride. So I think with all that being said, being able to bolster up that interior offensive line, I think is something they look forward to in this draft.
I agree.
Pick number 17, the Cincinnati Bengals.
Donovan Izuraku, edge out of Boston College.
Keeps moving up for us. He's done well since the combine and through the workout circuit. It's a guy that I keep seeing moving up. With the Bengals right now, they need to put as much emphasis as they can on defense. They've paid T. Higgins, they've paid Jamar Chase, they've paid Joe Burrow. That offense has got those players, and yes, you need to keep Burrow upright, but this is a team that needs to up what their defense gives them. When you look at some of their edge players, your top guy right now is Trey Hendrickson, who's requested a trade because he also wants more money. What's that going to end up looking like? Your next guy is Joseph Osai, who was a former second round pick. So go ahead and give me another edge defender that gives you that hedge for Trey Hendrickson, or is a guy that can really get into the rotation with Osai.
And then you kind of slot him in the role of Sam Hubbard, right? Because he just retired. And you just, as you said, that you went out and got a new defensive coach, a new DC.
Yeah, but
Go
you went and
get.
paid all that money to the
I
offense. Like
know,
you can't allocate more money resource
yeah.
there. So you got to get
Like
younger
you
on
gotta
defense.
hit. You have to hit at this pick for an edge player. You have to.
All right, pick number 18. Your Seattle Seahawks select.
Tet McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona.
You don't love this pick, but I
I
think
don't.
that I've seen some mock drafts where he's fallen down to 22 to the Chargers. I think that if he is here, there's no way that he gets past the Seahawks. Reason being is the big knock on him right now is he's not a polished route runner. He's a jump ball guy. He's got good measurables, ran a 4.55 of his pro day. So it's good speed, right? I've seen this guy make phenomenal catches. Do the Seahawks need a route technician right now? No, they don't, because they have Cooper Kupp, who is the wily veteran, the crafty one on the squad. And then you got JSN, who's also a route running maven. Those two are dynamic in running routes. What type of guy would not learn from that? Like McMillan's perfect to be able to learn from them, lean on them, be able to give you value, and is your long term future to pair up with JSN in this offense. You get a few years down the road, you've got Cooper Kupp, you got his 3 years, but you only have MBS for one. So if you want to run some more three wide receiver sets, especially in the year two, that really opens you up for JSN, Cooper Kupp, and McMillan. And I like that as a mix of crafty, good, triple crown winning wide receiver along with two up and coming guys.
Yeah,
I know
that's
you don't
fair.
like it because you're not addressing the interior offensive line, but what I
Yep.
do think with the way that this draft played out, there's not a good guy to draft right here. You're over
Yeah.
drafting, and I think that there are guys that you can get in the second round that are fringe tackle players that can slot into your starting guard spot in the second round.
And that's all fair, fine and dandy. That is. I just want what I want.
Kane's like, give me Tyler Booker or give me no one.
No, I
He'd
am
also take
more.
Will Campbell.
I am in Gray Zabel camp. I think he would be one of the best fits on this team. But that's for our mock for the
Well,
Seahawks.
guess what? He gone. He's already been
Yeah, in
drafted.
this one, yeah.
All right, pick number 19, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Malachi Starks, safety out of Georgia.
I don't love what they have opposite of Antoine Winfield Jr. for this
Yeah.
team. You address the offensive line previously. You also in previous drafts, your wide receiver room is set. I think that you feel good about Baker, you feel good about the tight end game, you feel good about your running back situation. So when I went and looked, what's the biggest hole they have? And it's their starting free safety right now. And I think that Malachi Starks ideally is a better fit as strong, but I think that he could be a very capable free. So you can play around with him and Antoine where who's in the box. You can play this game. It's called Who's in the Box because you might never know because I think they have that versatility to both play both sides.
All right.
Big number 20, the Denver Broncos.
They selected Marion Hampton, running back.
Marion.
Marion, sorry.
We say
Every
that we
time.
say it every episode.
Every time. Running back out of North Carolina.
They haven't addressed the running back room. Yes, I think that They've got Estime, who I think has some stuff. I
And
do
they have
think that
McLaughlin still.
McLaughlin, but I think if you're looking for a guy that, are they going to be bit by going back to North Carolina for a running back, right? Javonte Williams, North Carolina running back. But I think that the skill set and big playability is too much for Sean Payton and company to pass up here, especially when you look at this team where you saw some emergence by their wide receiving core. You saw what you bring with Bo Nix going ahead and getting a more competent run game, multifaceted. I think this helps because those guys were on the roster last year, and this is another spot where you've seen running back regularly mock to them.
Yeah.
Pick number 21, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
They are selecting Jackson Dart, quarterback out of Ole Miss.
Who's their quarterback right now?
No,
They're
nobody.
they're kind of
Mason
waiting.
Rudolph, actually. He's
They're,
on roster.
sure. So they're waiting on Aaron Rodgers, kind of. He's going to wait to make his decision up until possibly after the draft.
That's
That
crazy talk to me.
is bonkers. You can still have Russell Wilson out there, who I think is a good fit for this team. But with Mason Rudolph, what you could do is bring in Jackson Dart, who I think does need a little time to season. Mason Rudolph has started games for the Steelers. He started games last year for the Titans. Is he your long-term answer? No. But I think with bringing in Dart here, I think that you reverse the curse on what you did by starting Kenny Pickett earlier on in his career. You can have him sit a little bit because you saw last year with Justin Fields. Justin Fields was throwing for 150, under 200 yards a game, and they were 5-1 during the stretch when Justin Fields was on the field. Yes, I do think that they need to go and address the running back position because you do not have Najee Harris, who's been a 1,000-yard rusher every year since he was in the league. So go ahead and get your quarterback of the future here. Go ahead and dress the running back in the second round because there is going to be a lot of guys that are going to be available that like Quinshon Judkins out of Ohio State, who I think would fit really well on this team, even if they have to move up to go get him, which they don't have a second round pick. That's right. They're screwed.
Yeah, I mean,
All right,
yeah.
let's go to the next pick. Pick number 22, the Los Angeles Chargers.
Calling for a reunion. Colston Loveland, tight end out of Michigan. I think it makes too much sense.
It does, and I think that with Will Dissly also on this team, they can run a lot of two tight end sets because Will Dissly, although he is a very competent pass catcher, he loves mauling people, former D lineman. I think that if you compare these two together, I think that does bring up the floor for this team, especially. Yes, they went and got Mike Williams again, who hasn't done much since leaving the Chargers,
Mm-hmm.
but when with the Chargers, that's where he got paid. That's how he got his money, right? This is where he feels the best.
Yeah.
Bringing him back, even at a diminished capacity, you've got Ladin Conkey, you've got Quentin Johnston. I think that you've got enough on the outside to go ahead and address the tight end room here.
Yep, I agree. I just think it's the perfect fit.
All right, pick number 23, the Green Bay Packers.
They select Josh Simmons, tackle out of Ohio State.
They've got Zach Tom at the right tackle, the guy at left tackle I'd never heard of before. So go ahead and give me a guy. Bakhtiari's not there anymore. Go ahead and give me a guy that I think can slot in at left tackle. This is a national championship winning tackle for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Go ahead and slot him in here as potentially a guy that might not start right away, but should in his rookie year. Pick number 24, the Minnesota Vikings.
They select Michael Williams, edge out of Georgia.
I think this brings a lot of juice right here to this
Oh,
pass rush because
pairing with
one,
Dallas Turner. Ooh,
yeah, I think this is a very fun pairing for this team. I think that they've got enough weapons offensively
I
to
agree.
give JJ McCarthy a soft landing spot. They wouldn't address the interior offensive line, which was their weak point. So I think that a lot of resources in the NFL draft are going to go defensively. Go ahead and give me a guy that has a potential to be a close to double digit sack guy his rookie year.
Yeah.
All right, pick number 25, the Houston Texans.
They're selecting Kelvin Banks Jr., tackle out of Texas.
It's the team that drafted or traded Laramie Tunsil, who has been a cornerstone at left tackle for him. He said it's because he felt he was expendable because they really like the young guys that they have there. Go and give me another young guy who I think is a tweener tackle that can play interior and out on the perimeter for you along this offensive line that gives you more options. One thing, even with Laramie Tunsil, CJ Stroud got hit too much last year. This is insurance to keep that kid upright.
Yeah, especially after the team regressed last year, you need to take a step in the right direction and bolstering the offensive line. You see where it gets teams in the playoffs as well. If you run with a good offensive line, I mean, look at what the Eagles did all year.
Yep. All right, pick number 26, the Los Angeles Rams.
Jihad Campbell, linebacker out of Alabama. This one's gonna suck if it happens.
They've got a lot to be desired in their true linebacking room. Go ahead and get the best guy available.
Yeah.
We mocked him a little bit later, but I've seen a lot more recently where he's sometimes sneaking into the top half of the draft. It's a guy that's a
Hmm.
playmaker, good pedigree coming out of Alabama. Alabama turned out great linebackers into the NFL year in, year out. Go ahead and give me a guy that I think can plug and play, start, and probably be the best linebacker they've had since Ernest Jones.
I mean, this might be the second best, like true defensive player in this draft. In all honesty.
But when you look at the history of true non-edge linebackers, they typically don't go until the second half, and that's best case, right? The
Yeah,
last
exactly.
one was what, Jack Campbell yeah, Jack Campbell for the Lions, and that pick was much maligned, even though he's played very well.
Right, right. So, you know,
All right, pick number 27, the Baltimore Ravens.
they select Shamar Stewart, edge out of A&M.
I think they've done enough offensively to keep that train rolling. So go ahead and give them some more juice in the pass rushing department because I think that's really their biggest hole right now. The other spot I looked at was corner, but I didn't think there was a guy that really slotted and fit very well right
Yeah.
here. So go ahead and give me a guy that can go get after the quarterback for him. Pick number 28, the Detroit Lions.
They're going to select Matthew Golden, wide receiver out of Texas. It's a good pick.
Tim Patrick is currently slated to be their wide receiver number 3 right now. Doesn't get me overly excited. And I think we've said this before when it comes to trades, drafting in the NFL, even in Major League Baseball. You don't let a decent player get in the way of a really good player, right? If you got the opportunity, go get it. And this is a team that does have Amon-Ra St. Brown. They've got to Javonte Williams. I think that Matthew
Jameson
Golden,
Williams.
yeah, Jameson. Sorry, I had Javonte on the mind still from earlier. Couldn't shake him. I loved him coming out of college at UNC. But I think Golden gives you that speed element because when you put in Williams, just going to say Williams, not even going to ruin it this time, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and with what they have in their running back room with Gibbs Montgomery, like speed on speed on speed.
Yeah,
It's tough to beat
exactly.
speed.
Yeah, I mean they showed it all year, right? So why not add another to the mix?
True. All right, pick number 29, the Washington Commanders.
Luther Burden the third, wide receiver out of Missouri.
I like this as an outside guy. Yes, they went and got Debo and moved some money around, but you have Scary Terry. I think that
I think you
ultimately
need a true weapon.
Debo's a gadget guy, right? So he's
Hmm.
not going to necessarily be that guy lined up on the outside. He's going to be running the slot. He's going to be running jet sweeps. I think this gives you a true another weapon that you can go attack defenses with a team that well exceeded expectation. Dan Quinn's going to keep that defense rolling. They're going to find some good studs as you move along in the draft. So go and give me another offensive playmaker early on to go help Jaden Daniels in. I almost said Williams again. Jaden Daniels in his progression in year 2 in the NFL.
I like it.
All right, pick number 30, the Buffalo Bills.
They take Jalen Walker, linebacker out of Georgia.
This is a team that we had previously had Jod Campbell go to. I think Jalen Walker is going to be a very good linebacker in the NFL as well. Comes from a school that has been known for churning out defensive studs year in, year out. Put another one on the board, put him in a good situation, let this guy kind of take over for that older linebacking core, kind of be the new face in there, and kind of be that guy that's opposite as the signal color of Josh Allen for years to come.
I agree.
Pick number 31, the Kansas City Chiefs.
They select Walter Nolan, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss.
This guy that I've seen kind of fluctuating a ton in mock drafts. Sometimes I've seen him go near the halfway point, other times he's not in the first round. I think this is a good fit because when you look at this team, is Chris Jones a stud? Yes, he is. When Chris Jones goes down, do you love what they have on the interior offensive line? I think Walter Nolan has the ability to potentially be the next Chris Jones. And who better not to learn with? These guys could wreak havoc from the
Yep,
interior.
I
And
agree.
I think that what you saw, especially against a top flight offensive line with the Eagles, is the pressure wasn't getting there necessarily enough. So go and pair another guy, and you had Chris Jones that got banged up in that Super Bowl. You got to have more depth. You got to have another guy that play next to him. Go ahead and give me Walter Nolan in that spot.
All right.
Pick number 32, the Philadelphia Eagles.
They select Xavier Watts, safety out of Notre Dame.
Chauncey Gardner Johnson no longer there. I think that Reed Blankenship is a decent player, but if you're looking for biggest hole talent wise on this team, I think it's your safety room. Go
I
ahead and get a
agree.
guy that was a highly rated guy coming out of high school. I think that yes, he's not necessarily the physical freak like Nwari is out of South Carolina, but I think he's got a little bit more polish. And when you're looking at a team that's trying to keep a Super Bowl window open, you're going to go ahead and get guys that you can plug and play. It's another guy they're adding early on into the secondary, which they put a lot of draft capital at. The only other spot I looked at was edge, but I didn't love the edge positions here. I think you get that polish. I think that you get that a little bit more and keep their window open a little bit longer. And like I said before, if your coverage can hold up, can only help your pass rush.
Yep. Yep.
All right, that's going to wrap up the latest mundane Monday mock draft. No more because you had this fun mock draft to go. We got more stuff coming. First two episode 1 week this week going up on the Mariners starting their season. So we are excited for that.
Oh
We're
yeah.
excited for the NFL draft. We're excited for what the Seahawks are going to continue to do. We're going to keep bringing you all those news stories, takes, and opinions.
Whoa. Move it all back. Wow.
Yeah,
That was great.
double down. And it would be great if you followed us over on social media. You find me, your boy Coach Red, on X at the Real Coach Red, on Instagram at the Real _ Coach Red, TikTok at the Real Coach Red. Also find the show over on YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications, and leave a comment or two. Kane, where you at?
Find me over on Twitter, King2406, TikTok and Twitch, K0624. Also follow the show's socials over on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. False. Do it, freaking do it.
And as always, stay fresh.
Stay fresh, peeps.
Peace.